Welcome everyone to today's webinar about an exciting topic, connected manufacturing. You know, the entire vertical of manufacturing is fundamentally changing as systems and applications, suppliers and logistics are rapidly coming together to create a whole new digital network. This disruption is fundamentally changing the way that we have built and manufactured and distributed products, and it's happening increasingly quickly. And what we're hearing from our customers is, how can I take place? How can I experience this disruption without fundamentally being disrupted? So today what we want to do is spend a little over 30 to 40 minutes really talking specifically to the integration and connectivity needs within this vertical. My name is Andrew Lee. I'm VP of Global Channels here at Jitterbit, and I've got two exciting guests. First, I've got Rob Heidenkamp, who is the CEO of Endowance, who spent well over 2 decades in the manufacturing space to really give us the SI perspective. And then we've got Christian Paquin, who comes from Revision Military, who recently connected their systems and really changed their go-to-market strategy in terms of manufacturing. So let me go ahead and dive right into the agenda. We're going to do an opening and talk about the changing world of manufacturing, and we're going to use a customer story to actually demonstrate some of the fundamental changes that companies are experiencing. And we're going to hear from Rob and Endowance. What are some of the process changes that they see within manufacturing, and what are some of the key pitfalls that customers in the manufacturing space should be aware of? And then we're going to drop right into Revision Military and hear about their real-life story of how they connected the Salesforce front office systems together with their Infor back office systems. And then most important, we're going to open up on Q&A. And for that, if anybody's interested in asking questions, we believe this is the most important part of the entire webinar. Just go up to your GoToWebinar control panel. There's a little line that says question, and at any time throughout the webinar, just type in your question and let us know what it is, and we'll make sure to address each and every question at the end of the webinar. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So LNS Research did a study of manufacturers. There were well over 3,000 people in the report, and they said, what was your #1 top challenge? No surprise, 48% of all manufacturers said the #1 challenge that they faced in their business was a lack of collaboration across different departments. And fundamentally, we all know this breaks down to a technical connectivity issue of their systems, their people, their APIs, and their partners not being able to digitally communicate with one another. Now, this is very similar to what we hear from hundreds of manufacturing customers that we've worked with over the last 12 years at Jitterbit, from large manufacturers of high tech to manufacturers of retail products to energy manufacturers to pet food to aviation. We've seen a large assortment of manufacturers that are connected to an entire array of different manufacturing systems. The most common manufacturing systems that we see out there, of course, starts with the core manufacturing ERPs. Of course, there's the granddaddy of all, the SAP systems. But then there are the systems like JD Edwards and, of course, Infor, which has really made some amazing inroads within manufacturing in the last few years. We also see a lot of things around field service, and we see entrants like GE Digital. We see manufacturing shop applications now starting to pop up. We see people with mobile devices who are servicing these manufactured products at the customer site. So there's a whole array of endpoints, applications, and services that need to be connected in order to digitally transform each and every one of these manufacturing companies. Now, to talk about the challenge in manufacturing, what I want to do is really put it in the context of a classic customer example. Mophie was a manufacturer, of course, of the top-selling mobile battery cases. And we all know these are the cases that you attach to the back of your phone, and they give you an extra 8 or 9 hours of power. They manufactured these products and faced the dilemma in a global market where the demand exceeded what they expected, which is a good problem to have, but we all know as manufacturers, You then have to address that market need, and you have to be able to build a heck of a lot more devices. You've got to be able to grow your supply chains. You've got to be able to grow your distribution chains. And they were doing this at a time when omni-channel and e-commerce was really starting to come online. They needed to be able to connect to marketplaces like Amazon. They needed to be able to connect to their own website and really be able to build out that omni-channel go-to-market strategy at the same time that they faced rapid growth. On top of this, as a manufacturing company, they were dealing with a physical asset. Of course, that physical device that they shipped out to their customers could have issues. So some of their key requirements were warranty management. How do they maintain and manage the warranty contracts for each and every customer? How do they provide things like sample management out to the retail stores so that they could see some of the new battery cases that were coming down line? And what about returns? If a client actually ordered a battery case off of the website, it was shipped to their home and it was broken, how would you go through the entire return or RMA process? We talked earlier, how do they really connect that e-commerce integration with their ERP and their website? And ultimately, this is about automating the entire end-to-end process and including an improved sense of accuracy by attaching analytics and visibility across all of the data and all of the systems. They were connecting 7 different systems in their go-to-market strategy. They had Salesforce.com on the front end, they had Magento for e-commerce, SAP for their ERP, they had multiple third-party PL systems, and they had lots of different shipping APIs. And ultimately, as you can imagine, they faced a lot of really complex transformations and orchestrations that really tied in air checking, external lookups, and the sharing rules. If we look at it visually, you can see kind of the before. This is the classic manufacturing dilemma. Everything is manual. There are lots of Excel spreadsheets, lots of people picking up a phone, lots of emails. They did have a lot of systems in place. They had their Magento system, their Salesforce system. You can see where they were working with the post office and UPS and FedEx. They were working with PCH. But this was a very error-prone and time ineffective process to really be able to execute. You can see it really resulted in a lot of siloed and redundant data. They were able to orchestrate and connect all of these systems in a brand new go-to-market strategy using the Jitterbit Harmony platform. It created really a centralized and automated operations view. It really did increase the improved response and delivery time for their customers as people really were able to get real-time data into their hands. And it really set them up for a flexible and agile platform, which really led them to be able to grow internationally at the speed that they needed to be able to grow. And of course, all of the operations and the APIs could be used both internally but also made external to their partners when needed. Now, we talk about complex orchestrations and 7 different systems, and here's just a simple example of some of the challenges that a manufacturing customer can go through. Here was their warranty process, and this was really the idea of somebody ordering a product, getting that product, and then needing to return it. You can see they broke down the process up at the top all the way from the initial sale. The RMA is issued. We can see the receiving and inspection, the replacement, the shipment, and the communication. We can see how it breaks down through the swim lanes across the multiple applications. You can see it includes both one-directional integration, but generally it's bidirectional integration. About 1/3 of these integrations were scheduled or batch, but about 2/3 of these integrations had to be real-time for the needs of the RMA process. And noticing that they're integrating to some of the traditional application APIs for some of these big systems, but they're also connecting to external service APIs from people like the Post Office and FedEx. Now, this is what that orchestrated process looked like within the tool as they built it out within Harmony. You can see some of the data over on the right-hand side around replacement parts, the warranty management, inspection process, the RMA handling, the samples. And as we break that down, here's what it looked like to the users of Salesforce.com. What I think is interesting is that as you look at that case object, you look at the data that a service representative would see, notice that probably about 75% of all of the data that's available to the call center representative is actually SAP data. It's information about the product, it's information about the contract, it's information about the receiving and the accounting, the inspection. All of that data is being brought over into Salesforce.com through Harmony. Key to understand is it goes beyond just a real-time virtual integration, which of course we can do, but it provides the true hybrid integration where we're accessing that data directly from SAP, carrying it through the firewalls, making it available both scheduled and real-time within Salesforce.com. Of course, it could be done virtually through something like Salesforce Connect, or it can be done through application or systems integration as well. I think that's a really good example of really laying out the different challenges that manufacturers face in today's kind of digital connected economy. We really break down 5 key trends or traits of connected manufacturing that we see. Recently, about 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with GE Digital. GE Digital just moved in with their new Predix cloud platform for manufacturers, and they really talk about this new connected manufacturing age. And it's really amazing to see what they've done. It might be one of the first true vertical clouds. Come in as a $5 billion company announcing that they want to move and triple that in the next 4 years. And it's really shocking to see the way that they're turning the industry upside down. The biggest thing that we see is a whole new generation of end-to-end integrated operations that really connect from research and development to the factory floor all the way out to the customer site. And what I thought was exciting, and you can see some of the work that they've done with ServiceMax and field service, how it's no longer about just the manufactured product. What we really see now is that it's more than the product, it's the service model that you can build around the product. And what's enabling that is the whole new world of IoT and analytics. From a technical perspective, the third trend we see is really a whole new set of real-time streaming insights that are coming from sensors and devices and APIs that are attached to all of the products themselves, to the manufacturing floor, to the devices that people are using out in the field, and to the APIs of the systems both inside the manufacturing and within a logistical chain. We see a whole new world of B2B supply networks and digital logistics, and of course this ties back to some of those sensors and devices that are attached to the different components as they make their way to the manufacturing floor, but we're also starting to see a whole new set of networks as the suppliers and the logistical chain connect in a much more tightly wound way. This is way beyond, just-in-time manufacturing. It's kind of a digital JIT, if you will, and it really shifts down or decreases the amount of time that it takes from actually designing a product to getting that product out into the market. We hear from some of our partners like Autodesk that where it used to take 18 to 36 months from the initiation of design to the actual delivery of a manufactured product into the market, some companies are getting that down to as little as 90 days from actual design to delivery to the shop floor, which is shocking. The last thing that we see is really a whole new level of visibility that goes back to research and development in the engineering group, where not only can they see the suppliers and the logistic chain that give them the components that they need to build their manufactured product, but now they have real visibility and direct feedback all the way back to the CRM system, to the customers and the clients themselves, to really provide a true 360-degree feedback loop to be able to change and modify and be able to advance the manufactured product. Now for us, the orchestrated processes that we see fundamentally changing is really the 6 on the left-hand side. And what's happening is we see companies in manufacturing really connecting 4 key components of their modern architecture. They're connecting the on-premise applications from Infor and SAP to the cloud services from Salesforce or NetSuite or Microsoft. They're applying a whole new generation of analytics to these processes, and of course, manufacturing is one of the top users of the IoT. So we talked about that connected service experience, and I think that's probably the biggest transformation that we see within the space. If you talk to GE, they're no longer manufacturing and selling jet engines. What they're really selling is time in the air. And they're selling you the amount of hours that that engine will actually keep a plane in air. Not only will they, of course, sell you the engine that gets the plane up into altitude, but of course they're also going to give you preventative maintenance around whether that engine is operating properly. They'll proactively let you know if they see an issue within that engine before it breaks down to make sure that you're able to service your passengers. The whole world of product lifecycle management has been turned upside down, and we talked about the views that the engineers and the research and development teams are able to get now, stretching all the way out to the end customer. We see a lot of really great work from partners like Autodesk around PLM. The digital supply chain and distribution fundamentally changing as B2B APIs and the API economy really start to come together. We see a lot more around complex quoting and cash of complex manufactured products. Of course, Salesforce just brought and acquired SteelBrick. We, of course, see lots and lots of SteelBrick customers. We also see a lot of Aptus customers in that CPQ space. Tons of manufacturers, especially in retail, really trying to still figure out e-commerce and omni-channel. And of course, we talked about the movements within connected field service from vendors like ServiceMax, Liquid Frameworks, and Salesforce themselves. Now, the way that we support this is the Harmony platform. Anyone who knows Jitterbit knows everything we do runs on our multi-tenant cloud platform, Harmony, which runs 6 different data centers globally around the world. We provide full open connectivity to connect to any standard-based application out there. We're connecting to well over 400,000 applications every single day. We have full integrated API management built into the core integration engine, which is really a differentiator as you can expose any integration. You can both manage but also create an API gateway and make that available both internally or externally. You've got process integration, data management, the API gateways. All of this is available through the Harmony runtime agents that really allow you to do hybrid integration, cloud integration, or traditional on-premise integration. And of course, the other thing we see out there in manufacturing is that need to do B2B integration and do traditional EDI, and all of that is built natively into the platform. So with that, what I want to do is bring in our first guest, and we've got Rob. And Rob, I think we were debating, do you have 20 years of manufacturing or 30 years of manufacturing experience? Which one do you want?
You make me look old. 27, Andrew, thank you.
So Rob, you guys are doing some great work with Endowance. Why don't you share kind of Endowance's what is your strategy and what is your purpose within the manufacturing space?
Yeah, so who are we? So we are a Salesforce partner as well as with Infor. We do a lot of projects together with Infor. We do a lot of integrations between the two. We've done about 350 projects altogether. We have a lot of integration expertise. Customers that give us independent feedback on a survey give us a 9.32 score. So that's helpful. That makes us look really good, and we're happy with that. We have presence in the continental US, so we're across the United States and also in Europe. We see a lot more traction in Europe nowadays. And our team is basically, we look at people in our organization that have business backgrounds, so manufacturing expertise. They're having consultants in that space, or they have been in the line of business for years. And so with that, they bring a lot of the manufacturing expertise into our organization, which is then, of course, available to our customers. And so with that, we think we know a lot about manufacturing, and well, we have a lot of customers in that space. So we're about 64% of our business is manufacturing right now. So it works really well, and customers they like what we can provide them. So with that, let's go to the next slide. So we work together with Jitterbit, and we integrate Salesforce to Infor and other information, other ERPs. We have a couple of processes automated. So we have a couple of products built based on the Jitterbit platform. It's the Duet base, which basically gives you some information, basic information, accounts, contact, some order information, and it's important to have that in your CRM, in your Salesforce. Reason for that is you can market against your install base once you have the most accurate data of your customer in your Salesforce, which is the order. We also have the quote to order process automated using the Jitterbit products, and we have a field service component added. So field service would be where you have maybe you bought a refrigerator, there's a broken part, they need to fix it. That whole process around that, where they supply you the part, where the technician comes out to repair the part, and install the part. That process we have automated as well. So that information comes back from the ERP into Salesforce, giving the sales reps and the service reps that live in Salesforce maximum insight. The thing about this integration that we provide is it optimizes your internal communication. Instead of the sales reps talking to finance, talking to manufacturing, talking about to operations, they don't have to do that because they have that information at their fingertips. They have their mobile devices, their laptops, and they have instant information, access to that information as they meet the customer. So instead of them calling the back office, they no longer do that. They have that information available, and whenever the customer is asking for it. What we see as part of that, we see revenue increases. What and why? I mean, that's always a good question, right? So revenue increase happens because of the fact that the reps now start spending more time with the customer. They have more face time, they have more activity, and there's a real clear correlation between sales activity and the sales increase that you get out of it. And in the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So what's Duet? Duet is a solution that is pervasive low cost. So when you're a small company or a big company, it doesn't matter. The big companies have the same issues as the small companies. And when we look at that, and we can go back one step in the slide, we're a little one slide out. When we see that, whatever you're big or small company, you have problems and the same problems. Now we're addressing that with Duet to make it cost effective for all of our customers. The S&OP process is a process that we see quite a bit. S&OP process is a process where you have the sale. So let's say you sell $1 million of products in a quarter. With that, you need to also manufacture and deliver. And a lot of our customers have issues, or not customers, the people that are in the manufacturing have the problem where, yes, you sell the product, but you're not manufacturing it on time or deliver it on time. Result is you sold it, but you can't recognize the revenue. And so with the proposal, with the solution that we have, we can basically say, well, that's great. We know the opportunity, it closed sometime in the quarter. Now, in order to get the revenue recognized in that quarter, we need to know the ship date. Well, the VP of sales, the sales executives in general, have a lot of interest in that. I mean, you can sell all you want, but if you don't deliver, you're going to miss your numbers and you look pretty bad to your shareholders. So with the solution that we provide, we give the sales executives and the executives, whoever has access to it in Salesforce, real-time data and information about this is what's sold, this is what has been delivered, this is the delta. Result is in the S&OP process, it's the sales and operations process, where the manufacturing team is being told that, hey, we're behind maybe let's say $500,000. How are we going to get there? Executives on the sales side, executives of the company, manufacturing executives, they get together frequent basis and to see how can we pull in the delivery date so we can recognize the revenue as part of our quarter or fiscal year. Very important process, and that's something that we see a shift towards more and more. It has been an ongoing process for years, but the challenge with that is how do you get all the data together and visible and in real time. That's the solution that we can provide with our integration using the Jitterbit platform with Duet. It's a key process that we see the shift to, and more and more companies, need that information. From a connected perspective, that's what you're going to get. So that will be the SNOP process. And on the next slide, what you'll see, we see the RCM. It's revenue, cost, and margin. With what we've seen with our customers implementing these solutions, they get a revenue increase of 20%. And why is that? These numbers are always debatable, but what we found is these are numbers that customers tell us. A rep spends 40 hours a week on sales. If they got back on their internal communication because they have all of that information at their fingertips, they're gonna spend about 1 day less to talk to the internal folks about an order status, a shipment status, what's happening to its return. All of the information is now there, so they no longer need to talk to their inside folks. With that, they have more time to spend on a sale, and it goes back to the same point I made before. That's going to correlate. The more sales activity, the more face time with customers, the more sales. And with that, we also see the reduction of cost. And the question here is it a reduction or is it more efficiency? Spending time on really important things and not on busy work is going to get you more out of the day. And so you get to do more things. So you can either say, I'm going to reduce my costs and do the same with less, or you can say, I'm going to do the same or do more with the same. That's always the conversation. But ultimately, we see not just revenue increases, but we see margin increases up to 10% at least. So a lot of this is beneficial. It's all because of the fact that it's all connected. The data is in your enterprise. It just it doesn't get associated a lot of times. That's the value of these types of solutions. So customers see this and they love how it works for them. It gives them a lot more insight and gives them more the state of the business and how they're doing. So with that, Andrew, I want to get it back to you. Anything, please add.
Perfect, Rob. You know, Rob, when I look at these metrics, I think you are absolutely correct. I actually think that some of these metrics are pretty conservative. The number that I always think of is the sales representatives. They're spending as much as 60% of their time on non-sales tasks. And often that's calling up the shipping department, it's calling up the inventory department, it's calling up somebody in sales operations and trying to understand what the most recent price book is for that specific customer. And we all know that's just simply not time spent in productivity, and that affects directly, as you pointed out, both the cost number, but ultimately, from a sales perspective, that's your quarterly revenue number.
Correct. Yeah. We just made it. Based on this, we know it's 20% at least, but you never want to overcommit. But 20% is what we generally see, or more. So.
Perfect. So the next person that I want to invite is Christian Paquin. And Christian, you're with Revision Military. Obviously, a really cool image. You guys are making some pretty complex equipment for militaries around the world. If you could share for us, what is it that you manufacture? What does it take to go through that manufacturing process? And what are some of the changes that you're making? What are the systems that you're connected, and what are the processes that you're really focused in on?
That would be my pleasure. So first off, thank you for having me here today. So I'm Christian. Like Andrew said, I'm with Business Revision Military. I've been the IT business analyst here for a year, and what we do is that we manufacture protective solutions for military and soldier equipment. So our business, we're in the U.S., but we have sales representative across the globe. So we have a sales force that are in the U.S., Canada, but also in the U.K. And one of our major pain point in our environment, like Rob mentioned when he was specifying that it's about maybe a 20% loss in time of effort for the sales rep. I would agree that this number is very conservative, because for us the problem was to get information as to the status of order. So our sales team is often on the road and in trade shows, and often they need to provide information on status of order. And in order to provide that to a customer, they needed to reach to either someone from customer service or someone to our sales department in the office. Obviously, there's some time constraint. They're not necessarily on the same hours. So getting the information took a lot of time for them on that. So being able to have all this information for them at their fingertip, they use a mobile application. So for them, of course, with their cell phone, they're able to get that information immediately. But also what's good for them is being able to lock in those opportunity right now and get approval on quotes almost immediately. So this was something for them that proved to be very helpful. And also one of the thing is with regards to management, they're able to get a global view of all the opportunity pipelines that are coming through. Each time a sales rep enters an opportunity that has been won, we have the email alerts that are being set to the responsible business unit. So this gives great visibility on the work that they are doing and the success they are reaching out.
So Christian, the goals of the overall project, what were you trying to see? I see things like optimized communication, and I assume
Yeah.
that one around that quoting process that you talk about, the support process, but maybe you can talk about kind of what was the vision of the project when you started out?
Well, the vision of the project was really to also be able to centralize to have a centralized repository for our company sharing business. So right now, as I was saying, we have a lot of sales rep around the world, and it was always difficult for management to get a view of what's going on. So between all the information that they would gather in their own personal spreadsheet or whatever, how they were organized, getting this information distributed made it very difficult. And the way that we had this is that they had a communication that was sent weekly in order for, and someone in management would gather all those results, manage, centralize this, and then distributed this. Now we've been able now to automate this. So as part of their process, as they are entering opportunity or just logging calls and all the work that they do, this is now all entered into Salesforce, and they're able to automatically generate this and send that to their responsible manager. So this saves a lot of time. It gives a lot of visibility for them. So that was one of the things that we needed to do. Also, given the fact that you have this in a future slide, so I don't want to go ahead in the slide, but one of our challenges is that we have a site environment for our site line. So we have one for Canada, one for the US, and one for our Europe environment. So getting that information for them was very difficult because the person responding needed to access the proper sightline environment. So given that with the integration that we have now with the Endowance Do It integration, they can directly go in Salesforce. They don't have to select the appropriate sightline environment that they need to look the information to. They can directly access the customer, and then they get all the information on the status of the current orders that are being processed, or what's the status on the quote, shipment information. So for them, it's that's something that they could not get immediate, within a few minutes in our prior setting of environment.
So if we look at that before, that's something that you and I discussed. You're dealing with multiple Infor sites, and as you said, you're able to basically bring them together. And then I'm seeing a lot of Word and Excel and telephone. It looks like you had a lot of manual processes as well.
That is correct. A lot of manual process, whether it being at confirming opportunity, getting information on quotes, on the order, all that was done through exchange of email or phone. So this was something that was very difficult, and sometimes even IT could be involved in the process, obviously, because if you need a certain information that you don't have access for now, and also they're able to look at they have access to all the price book of all the product. So for them, it's very easy when they're creating, and they're sure that they have the product as it corresponds in our sightline environment. So whether they want to make a quote on a specific helmet, they have the proper item number of the helmet, so there's no mistyping or missing, everything have and they're entering. So they can search a product by they get the product, they're able to create immediately the code on it, and so and also it allows for them, it happens that, different sales representatives, they might deal with identical customers. So what the platform allows them to do is that if they want to create a new account, which they would get into an approval process so that it gets created into our Sightline environment, what Salesforce enables them to do is that as they are entering this customer, if the customer already exists, Salesforce will give them a warning saying, you probably already have this customer on your platform. Make sure it's, it is another one that you have. So it avoids duplicate entry. So it helps on having data that makes more that is more clean in that prospect. So for them, it's really a very good tool for that.
Got it. Now, in your case, because you were an Infor customer, you chose the Duet Managed service, that basically the service provided by the folks at Endowance and Jitterbit, and you really didn't even have to do the install. You've got a couple metrics here that were pretty impressive. Before we get into the metrics themselves, how quickly were you able to get up and live?
The process was very quick. I mean, the most of the bottleneck of the process was mostly on our side, because we wanted in the whole process, Endowance and conducted interviews with all the different key players in our that would be the users of our Salesforce environment. So whether it be representative from the Salesforce in the US and in Canada and in the UK. So getting all those people together, this is what delayed the process, mostly the process. So it was within 2 months we were really already having data there. So it's really a process that was fast, and even we are seeing it now, and that's something to Endowance credit. Whether we have we always have some changes, last minute change or something that once it's live we say, oh, you know what, we forgot this type of data we wanted to bring and all that, and we're always able, the Endowance is always able to turn around quick and make the adjustment and roll it out, and even before the customer realizes that something was needed to be adjusted, they already have it. So that's one of the things that we are seeing, is that the fast turnaround that we can have when we need to make adjustment to our environment.
So some of the other metrics, data consolidated, I get the 3 to 1. What about revenue increases? Where did you really see the big benefits around revenues?
Well, for revenue, I would have to say that right now we're live since officially live maybe just a couple of weeks. So we won't see the revenue increase for now, but just on the usage from the Salesforce, we can see that now they're more autonomous, so they need less to make inquiries within the staff at the head office. So already with that, we can say that it is and what it does as a increase of revenue, but also what I think is the more important is the visibility on the opportunity we're getting. So this right now, and I just had a meeting this morning with some of the management folks, and they were already talking about the fact that now they receive email triggers of all the opportunities that are won, and that was something that was not done automatically before. So ever now we've set those parameters that we want, and we're able that the minute an opportunity gets win in a certain specific business unit, proper management personnel are being notified, and even obviously the CEO is notified of those opportunities that are won. So this is great visibility that gives to them. So.
Yeah, it's a really good example of kind of those real-time visibility and process workflows and tasks that can be fired out. I've heard different manufacturing customers call those win wires. When a win happens, then it fires off a whole set of processes about delivery and shipment and support. I've even seen customers who send out real-time notification, in that rare case of a loss, just to let everybody in the company know what's happened, and a whole different set of processes execute. So it's exciting stuff. Christian, let me ask you to hold on for just a second, because what I want to do is move into the Q&A session. And if you will, I can see a couple questions actually streaming in, and Christian, a couple are coming for you, and Rob, I see a couple that are coming for you as well. For everybody in the audience, if you go to the GoToWebinar control panel under questions, feel free to type out any question, and we'll make sure to get to them. But the first one, Christian, is how many customers are you guys supporting with the system?
So our customers are in the number of thousands. So we have at least over, I would say, over 2,000 customers that we have. So we have a
Perfect.
lot of customers. And I forget that's one of the things I forgot to say. I wanted to give also the number of users we have in Salesforce. So right now we have about 30 sales and management that use Salesforce. So we have 30 licensed users for now.
And then what, hundreds that are actually using the Infor systems as well?
We have about 200 people that use our Infor Sightline environments.
Perfect. So a second question, kind of along the same lines that's coming in from Joe. How complex are the products that you're selling? Essentially, you're selling the helmets, right? Is it just a helmet, or is there more to it?
There's more to it. It sounds really simple when you think about it, because you think it's just a helmet that you put on your head and you're done. But actually, there's a lot of each force across the, each military force have different requirements, different specification of helmets. It goes from size, whether also to ballistic. Ballistic requirements they can have. And just for example, there was an announcement being made that Revision Military had won the next generation of helmets to be made for the U.S. Armed Force, which is called the Gen 2 helmet, which is actually an helmet that is 24% less heavy than the previous specification model. So those are all requirements that are different requirements that we need to meet for all the types of customers. So whether it be helmets that have specific in weight, or as I said, ballistic resistance, or whether it be the cut on how they're made, what type of protection they can have also with regards to mandible. So that's the mouthpiece that protects the lower portion of the face, and also whether I have also visor and all that. So there's a lot of different requirements that goes into the manufacturing of those helmets. So that's why we have a lot of products that exist. Our bill of material contains, we have over 2,000 item bombs defined. So it's a lot of, but we have over 2,000 defined. If I would go into the active one, I'd say we have over 300 active bombs that are defined throughout our application.
Got it. So the next one, Rob, this is for you. It's probably just a point of clarification. When you talk about Duet as a managed service, how do you define a managed service?
Yeah, so managed service in this case is it's all cloud-based, it's all iPaaS, so the Jitterbit platform, Duet runs on the Jitterbit platform. So in this case, it's managed 24/7 for the customers. So as Christian already mentioned, before Christian would know, we know that and something is potentially not working well, and we get it fixed before he would know. So there's no hardware required, there's no service required nobody required with a certain skill or integration skill at the customer side. It's all, call it outsourced. We do everything, it's included in everything that we do. So it's definitely hassle-free. Managed service hassle-free.
Excellent. Yeah, and I would say, to everybody out in the audience, this really aligns with the strategy of Jitterbit of really allowing you to be able to get connectivity and integration in the way that suits you. If you want to really deploy something on-premise that connects on-premise applications, and you want to do the installation and the implementation and maintenance, we have a solution to do that. If you want to do cloud-to-cloud integration and you want to run the entire thing on the Harmony platform, well over 40% of all of our customers do that as well. In the case of Infor, if you want to do a managed service, and we're starting to expand that capability and really be able to use pre-built solutions, and you don't want to have to install it, you don't want to have to maintain it, you just want the integration to happen and be done. We talk about that shift to a services-based option. That's exactly what the Endowance team and Jitterbit are offering with Duet. So that's really our goal, is providing you the flexibility to connect any way that suits your business. Well, guys, what I want to do is really thank both of you for being on today. I think the whole digital transformation within the manufacturing space is definitely one of the most exciting spots. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see huge changes. We didn't even get into things like robotics. We talked about some of the new entrants that are coming in terms of GE Digital and Autodesk. Of course, some of the really exciting things that we're starting to see around manufacturing analytics coming from the folks at Salesforce and NetSuite. But I do want to thank you guys on behalf of Jitterbit for being on our webinar today. I want to thank all of the attendees. Next steps, of course, we always have a 30-day free trial up at jitterbit.com. You can go out and get a demo. We could walk you through the free trial from either our SAP architects, our Infor architects, or any of our system architects. And of course, for any question, any kind of deep dive, any project, just contact us at info@jitterbit.com or just call us directly at the phone number right there. We'd be happy to spend more time and dive down into your project. On behalf of Jitterbit, we wish you all an incredible new day. Thank you.